Good evening and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. And as always, we're back with another massive show to bring you guys this evening. But before we jump into that, please do make sure to smash a like on the video. And if this is your first time watching the show tonight, please do subscribe bottom right hand corner and get involved in the channel. On the show this evening, we're going to be reacting to a story that's come out saying that Qatar are not interested in buying any other club and only Manchester United. They're not interested in Tottenham. We're going to be talking about that. We will, of course, be reacting to that. We'll also be talking about the director of football and who it looks like is going to be set to be appointed if Sir Jim Ratcliffe gets the club. So we will be talking about that. Lots of other bits to get into as well. There's some big news around an injury about a player, which is quite disappointing. We will, of course, talk about that. As always, get involved in the comments section, get involved in the live chat. Let me know your thoughts on everything we discuss on today's show. So let's start off with the injury situation. The injury situation is apparently Sofian Amrabat has been injured on international duty for Morocco. This was been confirmed by the Moroccan national team manager earlier on today. We're not actually sure at this stage what the injury is, but he will not be taking part in Morocco's game this evening. I think it is a World Cup qualifier. I'm not entirely sure, but anyway, they had a game tonight and he's not going to be available for it. Who is it? Sorry, the game was last night. They won 3-0 against Liberia, Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. Amrabat did not take part. He was not on the bench and he had an injury. So we'll have to wait and see what comes out about this one. Whether or not he'll be available to play against Sheffield United on Saturday, we're yet to find out. My expectation is he probably won't be. If he's unable to play a game on a Wednesday night in Morocco, is he then going to be playing again on Saturday? You know, I don't think so personally, but we'll keep an eye on that one. Obviously, Erik ten Hag will be speaking to the press this coming Friday lunchtime. We will, of course, do a live video for that, so make sure you are subscribed. Just keeping on the news about injuries, just to try and keep it on football-related matters for the first little bit of the show. There's a story coming out this afternoon saying that Malacia is expected to return to the first team before the end of the year. Is that a big boost for us? I don't know. I guess at the moment we need every player we can, but I don't think, Malacia is going to turn us from being a 10th place team to a top 4 team personally. I think he's okay. Obviously, I'd rather have him than Amrabat at left back because I'd rather Amrabat be in the midfield. But he's not a Luke Shaw, is he? Like, Luke Shaw is the player we need back desperately. I think, as I said, Malacia is okay. I don't think he's anything better than average for me personally. But maybe, hopefully, he can turn into a good player over the years. The story is coming out from the Manchester Evening News, and they report Malacia sustained a knee injury last season, and the club initially looked to manage it with pain injections, but surgery was eventually required. It's understood the player was on crutches after the injury and he spent some time in the Netherlands to recover. He's now back in Manchester and sources have indicated he's expected to return before the new year. Now, as I said, I don't think he's a make or break player for us, but I do think he will help. I'll say that. Let's see what people are saying in the chat this evening. Milas says, will Reguilon and Malacia be fit? Malacia definitely won't be available on Saturday. 100%. He will not be available. Reguilon, I think, is going to be available, but obviously we need to wait and see what happens in the press conference on Friday with Erik ten Hag. Obviously, Mason Mount's back. Rasmus Højlund had a bit of an injury scare last night as well. He was playing against San Marino, got a really good goal, but he got injured and had to come off before the end of the match. Again, we don't know how bad that injury was. If anybody saw the clip, absolutely unbelievable. The San Marino player literally off the ball just knees him in the back, right where his injury, this supposed injury is. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. But I think it will be probably Thursday, Friday before we have a 100% confirmed list of who will be available for that game against Sheffield United. But I will say this, right? Whether Amrabat's available, whether any of these other players are available, we should be able to beat Sheffield United with what we have. Let's be real. They've got 1 point out of 8 games. Sheffield United are bottom of the Premier League. We should be able to comfortably beat them. So hopefully it's a big scoreline. I went with 3-0 as my prediction. Just a quick one as well that I wanted to bring into the show about Mason Greenwood. Now, I know some of you really, really want him to come back. There's a story coming out today from a couple of different places in the UK saying that apparently Manchester United have reportedly told Mason Greenwood he has no future at Manchester United regardless of how well he performs during a loan spell in Spain with Getafe. I think that's kind of obvious for me. Whether you think that's the right decision or not is up to you, but I don't think there's any way back for Mason Greenwood. We know that. Maybe there was if Manchester United had handled it differently, but the way that it was handled, the way that his return was leaked by The Athletic, and that John Murta and Richard Arnold had ultimately made the decision, but were too scared to announce it. It got leaked, and then the women's team, people in the public, and then they just fell under pressure, didn't they? So whether you're happy about that or not, that's up to you, but it doesn't look like Mason Greenwood will be coming back after his loan. Let's see what else everyone's saying in the chat this evening. Somebody says Reguilon is better than Malacia. Hopefully we should beat Sheffield United. Yes, I would agree. Everything Carpy says, do you think Qatar will come in and bid again now they know how much the Glazers want? 6.4 billion. It's hard to say at the moment, isn't it? It really, really is. We did a poll on the community section of our channel earlier on today, and the question was, do you think Sheikh Jassim will re-enter the race to buy Manchester United? So we had over 2,000 people vote in this poll. 54% of you said yes, that you think he will come back, and 46% said no. So it was kind of quite almost 50-50. I still do think there's a twist in this tale, personally. The fact that they're not even going to discuss Sir Jim Ratcliffe's offer for 2 weeks, that's what's being reported today. I think there's a twist in the tale, I do. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, about this story that Qatar reportedly only want to buy Manchester United and aren't interested in any other Premier League club. We'll come into that in a second. Joe says, apparently Sheikh Jassim is a lifelong United fan. I guess he only has eyes on United. Yes, exactly. We'll talk about that in a second. Just wanted to say as well, I've been watching the David Beckham documentary today on Netflix. Absolutely unbelievable. Honestly, when it was showing back the clips of the Manchester United treble when we beat Bayern Munich in the Champions League, it was genuinely bringing tears to my eyes. That was such a special moment. I was only 4 years old when that happened, so I don't remember it when it actually happened. At the time, 4 years of age. Like, I don't think many people have memories of 4. When I watched it this evening, it was bringing tears to my eyes watching, obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer win it for us, David Beckham obviously playing a pivotal role in that success. Paul says, I hear that 2 Glazers will vote against the Sir Jim Ratcliffe deal. Well, you never know, the 6 of them, they've been disagreeing for the last 10 months. We'll have to wait and see what happens there, won't we? Lumen says, is it good news for us or doesn't it matter anymore? Not sure what you mean there. Fred says, good evening. Hope you're doing well, Fred. Ansar says, is there any chance for Sheikh Jassim? I think there's always a chance. Until the papers are signed, you can't rule out anything. Lumen says, Kieran, will the medical department come under Sir Jim Ratcliffe? Not sure what you mean there. Wiz says, I wanted Qatar like everyone, but I am beginning to warm to the idea of Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I think he wants the best for Manchester United. Well, that's completely fine. That's your opinion. Let me know your reasons for that, and I will happily read them out on the show, and we can discuss it as a community. Let's have a look what else we've got. Chris says the share price is still dropping. I have not checked out the share price today. I will have a quick look for you whilst we're live. It says $17.67. So it hasn't dropped massively. It's stabilizing. That's a fair answer. On Thursday, it was at around $20. Obviously, the news about the takeover came out on Saturday, so it's dropped about $3 since the news came out, which is about 15% off the share price. So it's 17.6, which is still, I know it seems like it is dropping, right? But the thing you guys have to remember is, if you flash back to the 4th of November, before they announced that the club was up for sale, the share price was around $12. So even though it's going down, I mean, at one point, right, this is crazy. Back in February, when it looked like Qatar were about to win, it was at $27, the share price. But they're still up. They're still making good money. So I wouldn't get too concerned. Well, not concerned. I wouldn't get too excited about the share price dropping and people thinking stuff's going to happen. Everybody who's just joined in the last couple of minutes, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel, bottom right-hand corner. We're on the road to 21k subscribers. We hit 20k last week, so let's see how quickly we can get there. Let's read out a couple more of your comments quickly. Lumen says, Kieran, I was mad at Sir Alex Ferguson when he brought Teddy Sheringham to Manchester United. Fair enough. Everything Carpy says, if the 4 siblings want full sale, why was the bid rejected? Doesn't make sense. I don't know, mate. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Nabil says, we need Sheikh Jassim because with him, we will get a new stadium, players, he can rebuild Manchester United and make us great again. I agree with somewhat of that. I think I don't think there's any guarantee that Sheikh Jassim makes us great again. After watching that documentary of David Beckham earlier, like, we were unbelievable. As I said, right, when we were in our absolute dominance in the 90s, my oldest age in the 90s was six years of age. I was born in 1994, so I never really lived through the massive glory days of Manchester United. They were still, doing well when I was, 10 to 15, but when I was less than 10 years of age, like, that was when we were, like, amazing, isn't it? Lumen says, Kieran, will fans pressure this time force the Glazers to sell the club to Qatar? Well, apparently, just on that really, really quickly, we're hearing that apparently Manchester and Greater Manchester Police are stepping up the security ahead of the game 1 week today against Copenhagen, as they are expecting massive protests from the Manchester United fans. Obviously, most people are unhappy about the news that they're supposedly going to sell a quarter of the club to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and apparently there is going to be large-scale protests at the game against Copenhagen 1 week today in the Champions League. We will be doing a watch-along for that. Obviously, any protests we encourage, as long as they're peaceful, as long as there's no violence. That's not something that I will support on this channel. But obviously, any protest I will, of course, mention. We're going to talk about the sale in a minute. Let's see what else people are saying. Nabil says, I think Beckham will help him. Mealy says, what's the injury list for the Sheffield United game? We already spoke about the injuries at the beginning, so just rewind back to the beginning. But the injury list is looking like Amrabat will be out. Let's read a couple more questions before we move on. Sofian says, what do you think about Manchester United's future? That's a great question. I'll ask that back to the chat. So I want you all to let me know, guys, what do you think Manchester United's future looks like? Let me know in the comment section. Let me know in the live chat. For me, I think we're just going to carry on being more of the same, to be honest. I think we're going to be battling for anywhere between 4th place and 10th place for the next 10, 20 years. That's how I feel. We might get the odd League Cup, The fact that we've only won 1 trophy in the last 6 years, I don't see a miraculous change in our, there's nothing on the pitch or behind the scenes that makes me think we're going to suddenly start winning Premier Leagues, trebles, Champions Leagues, or anything like that, personally. So even if Sheikh Jassim comes in, yes, I'll be more confident, but I still don't think it's a guarantee. That's how I see the future of Manchester United. Irvin says, I am new to the show. Well, welcome, Irvin. Hope you're doing well. I'm sure I've seen you here before, but welcome anyway. Right, let's crack on with the rest of the show, though. I'll come back to the chat in a minute, so get your questions in, get your comments in, and I will come back in a second. I'm just going to read out the quote from the Morocco manager really, really quickly about Amrabat's injury. He says, we will not hide because we know about Amrabat's absence before the start of the match. Amrabat can get injured at some point. We must find a solution, an alternative, and we have capable players of filling the void that Sofiane Amrabat will leave. So he has confirmed that Sofiane Amrabat is injured. This is the Moroccan manager. I think he's a big miss. I do. I like Sofiane Amrabat. I don't know if I would keep him in the summer yet. I think it's too early to decide, but I think he's better than, Scott McTominay in that position. I think Scott McTominay looks good further up the pitch, but he's absolutely hopeless as a CDM. That's always been my opinion on Scott McTominay. But let me know what you guys think. How big of a miss is Sofiane Amrabat? Right. Let's move over to this story about the takeover then. This is coming out from a couple of different sources in the UK this afternoon, and they are reporting that Sheikh Jassim will not be investing in Liverpool, Tottenham, or any other English side. He's only interested in Manchester United, because I know the rumours have already started to build about maybe he'll try and buy Liverpool, maybe he'll try and buy a stake in Tottenham. We've had 2 or 3 different people this afternoon saying that he will not put any money into other clubs. He only wants Manchester United. And I think that's why I still have a little bit of hope here, because hopefully this is just a tactic to try and, get the club. It's not like he's already knocking on the door of other clubs. That would be a bit of an issue. It also goes on to say that Sheikh Jassim has got very emotionally attached to the prospect of taking over Manchester United, the club he has always supported. I mean, that kind of says it for me. If you have an emotional attachment to something, then it in some ways actually is a bad thing, because maybe, I mean, this is just me giving an opinion. This isn't factual, but is there a world where maybe he was going to offer stupid money, and maybe his father, who has come out and said he doesn't really think football is a good business, maybe tried to talk him out of it? There's all these things behind the scenes that we don't know about. Usually when people get emotionally attached to something, they do things stupid. Put this as an analogy, right? Say you go and view a house, and it's up for £400,000, and you love the house, and you say, oh, it's my dream house. I can imagine starting a family here. I can already see where the Christmas tree is going to go, obviously, if you celebrate Christmas, and all the rest of it, right? The house is up for £400,000. You call the estate agent, and the estate agent says, we've got 10 other bidders. We're going to go to best and final offers. usually in those situations, if people are emotionally attached to something, they'll bid stupid money, you know? And that's what happens, you know, with houses. And I think it's similar here. I think maybe Sheikh Jassim was venturing into the territory of stupid money for Manchester United. He'd already offered, in my opinion, stupid money for Manchester United. He offered double the market value of the club, but the Glazers still want more. And maybe his father, who, let's be real, probably is behind the bid. I know that hasn't been confirmed. I know this is just an opinion, but I think if you actually look at it on the surface, it's pretty obvious that Sheikh Jassim is getting his money from somewhere. Okay, that's what a lot of people have said. Obviously, you know, to be able to spend 6 billion on a club, 1 billion for the debt, 2 to 3 billion for a stadium, an additional 1.5 billion for pledged investment for other stuff. I mean, that's already, off the top of my head, you know, anywhere between 10 and 12 billion that he's reportedly got available to him in cash. That's a hell of a lot of money. And I don't think, I mean, what's his actual net worth? Let's have a look. I've looked before and I think it was about 1 or 2 billion. Forbes say that his net worth is 1.5 billion, although the Sheikh Jassim's family's net worth is 275 billion. So it's kind of obvious where the money's coming from. And it does make you wonder, maybe he spoke to his father about it, who has openly come out and said that he doesn't think football is a good business, you know, and maybe he's talked him out of it. You know, that is a possible thing. He says, so this is Sheikh Jassim's father. He says, I don't like this investment. I am not a football fan. I don't like this investment. Maybe it will work well, but you know, some of my sons like this. They always discuss it with me. So we know for a fact that he isn't interested in football, his father. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat this evening. Somebody says Sofian Amrabat will be a big miss. I agree. What's that? Oh, the heating's not working. Daz says he had a vision and a dream for Manchester United. You simply don't walk away. I agree. David says Sheikh Jassim is playing a game. Somebody else says Sheikh Jassim is a boyhood Manchester United fan and has offered double the value of the club for the greedy Glazers, but they want more money. I agree with all of that. Lumen says what a stingy person Sheikh Jassim is. I mean, that's ridiculous. Dean says, I really don't think Qatar will give up. I think they will come back. He wants it. I somewhat agree, you know. I somewhat agree. Obviously, we were told that they were going to vote on this tomorrow in a board meeting. That's been confirmed as not happening now. Apparently, it won't happen for at least 2 weeks. That's plenty of time for Sheikh Jassim to come back in and to blow Sir-Jim Ratcliffe out of the water. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know where you think this takeover is going to go. Magic Hotel says, Dad, can I have an advance on my pocket money? Obviously referring to Sheikh Jassim's father. Irvin says, Jassim cannot afford the club without his family support. I think if the money was available in his account, he would have paid crazy money for United. I agree with you. Somebody else says, Sheikh Jassim withdrawing the money process is just a move. It would be great because it's obvious that the Glazers want to sell as we are seeing them delaying the Sir-Jim Ratcliffe settlement. Yes, exactly. Exactly that. See what else we got. Right, let's crack on with the rest of the show though. Let me know your thoughts on everything we've discussed in that part. Where are we? Okay, let's move over to the director of football story because this is quite exciting. Now, we're going to do a separate video about this guy because I know some of you don't actually know who Paul Mitchell is. But for anybody who doesn't know, he was the director of football at Southampton. He brought in people like Sadio Mane as an example. He then went over to Tottenham. Didn't do as well at Tottenham and then went over to Monaco and did really, really well at Monaco. Now, Paul Mitchell has apparently just moved back to Manchester. He is originally from Manchester, I believe. He's just moved back to Manchester. He currently doesn't have a job and apparently he is the #1 target to become the new sporting director of Manchester United. Now, I want you guys to let me know in the comment section and in the live chat who your desired sporting director would be. I'm going to get a poll up now, all right? Whilst I get the poll up, everybody please smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner, I'm going to get a poll up for you guys now. Next, director of football. Let's go Ralph Ragnick. Paul Mitchell. 1 second, everybody. I'm just getting this. Obviously, as you guys know, it's just me who does these videos. So I have to do all the polls and all the things myself. So give me a second. Please do like, please do subscribe. And let's get... If I've missed any people out from this list, obviously let me know. Right. Okay, I'm getting the poll set up now. Okay, so you've got 4 options to vote from for everybody. Who would you like to be the next director of football? Now, I know... Oh, it's supposed to say Paul Mitchell, not Mitchin. Apologise about that. So your options are Ralph Ragnick, Paul Mitchin, who should be Paul Mitchell, Jean-Claude Blanc, who's obviously used to be at PSG, and then John Murtough. Obviously, I've thrown him in there just for a bit of a laugh. I mean, if anybody votes for him, then that will be quite funny, but I would be very, very surprised. Michael Edwards, yeah, I've missed one. There you go. You can only do 4 things on the poll. You can only do 4 options on the poll, so that is why those 4 have been picked. But let me know if there's anybody I've missed. Let me know in the comment section. Let me know in the live chat. Who do you think should be the next director of football at Manchester United? And let me know how important you think it is that Manchester United address this position. For me, it's incredibly important. I think it will make a massive, massive difference. We bring in somebody who understands what it is that Manchester United are looking for. You bring in somebody who wants to focus on the football side, not on the commercial side. You can leave the commercial side to the CEO, but the director of football needs to be a football person. That's always been the case. There was an interesting take as well I wanted to react to a little bit as well. So one of the presenters on Talk Sport this afternoon made a really good point, and they were saying that Sir Jim Ratcliffe, right, bid £4 billion for Chelsea. What was it, a year ago? 18 months ago? But he's only willing to put 1.3 billion into Manchester United, the club he supports. Does that not cause red flags for you? That doesn't really make any sense to me. Does it make sense to you? Why is he willing to buy 25% of something for 1.3 billion when he's just offered 4 billion for Chelsea? Like, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. He supposedly supports Manchester United. He supposedly claims he's a Manchester United fan. And I think this, right? I'm going to say this now. I think it's all lies, to be honest. Like, yes, he's from Manchester. Yes, I'm sure he supported Manchester United at some point. But if you actually look into his history, his life, he left Manchester at the age of 10 and moved to Yorkshire. So I don't really buy it for me personally, and I think he's just trying to play the fans. I think he's trying to play the fans with this connection of bringing the Manchester back to Manchester United and all of this rubbish. And I don't buy it personally. I just don't think that that's what Manchester United need. What is bringing the Manchester back to Manchester United? That makes 0 sense. Like, it really, really doesn't make any sense, because you getting into bed with the Glazers is not going to bring the Manchester back to Manchester United. Joe says Qatar's bid was never even close to the actual club valuation of the Glazers' valuation. Yeah, apparently the Glazers want £6.4 billion, which is absolutely mad. Norman says Paul Mitchell can't transform United on his own. Lots of people in the chat saying we should bring in Ralph Ragnick. What else have we got? Somebody says, I've witnessed Manchester United in the glory days. Yeah, fair enough. For some reason, 1% of people have voted for John Murtough. I assume that you're trolling. Lots of you in the chat said, get Ralph Ragnick. Yeah, I mean, imagine where we would have been, right, if Ralph Ragnick had been the director of football when Erik ten Hag came in. I think we would have signed some really interesting players. I really do. Like, I like Casemiro. But was that a good bit of business in the grand scheme of things, playing 60 plus million for a 31-year-old? I'm not sure. He's a world-class player, no doubt about it. But in a year or two, you're going to need to replace him, and then we're back to square one. So a little bit of it's a question, isn't it? It's a conversation, the Casemiro signing. I do like him, but yeah, maybe it would have been more sensible to invest that money in younger players. Let's have a look. Norman says Ralph Ragnick as the CEO, Paul Mitchell as the director of football. Yeah, maybe. Somebody says maybe Sir Jim Ratcliffe had liquid money at the time. Now he doesn't. Somebody else says, I think Sheikh Jassim will join back and win it because of the sake of the Yassim name. They are titans in the business world. Yeah, I mean, we heard that all throughout this process, didn't we? That when Qatar enter the race for something, they do not like to lose. Lumen says, Kieran, why should the Glazers not make it public, their intentions and their asking price? Because the thing is, Lumen, right? It's the same if you're selling a house, okay? When you're selling a house, you have an asking price, okay? But you always hope that you're going to get more than the asking price. So if the Glazers came out and said, we want 6 billion, then maybe they'll get 6 billion, you know? But they probably want more than that. Think about it when you sell a house, if anybody's ever sold a house. If somebody comes along and offers you 20 grand more than what your house is worth, you're not going to say, oh, no, that's more than the asking price. Do you see what I mean? Magic Hotel says, bring the Manchester back to Manchester has to mean bringing the local youth rather than buying expensive overseas players. But do we really think that giving the youth players a chance over world-class players is going to, make us win the treble? Like, I'm all for, developing youth and bringing them through, but I don't really buy into that personally. I think there has to be a balance of world-class players, the best in the world, as well as youth players. You can't just have all youth players in your team. Obviously, we've done that in our history, but even when in the Fergie days, we bring in 1 or 2 players to make the difference that maybe the youth didn't have at that point. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. All right, let's crack on. We've got a couple more bits to get through before we wrap up the show. So let's rattle through everything. Where are we? Yeah, so just to confirm on where Sir Jim Ratcliffe's deal is at the moment, the headline this afternoon is that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's proposed partial takeover of Manchester United is unlikely to be finalised for at least several weeks. And it says that Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants total control of the sporting side. And it also says that Sheikh Jassim has been given bidding hope as Sir Jim Ratcliffe's deal for Manchester United is given a new time frame. So the door is open for Sheikh Jassim to come back. If he really wants to buy Manchester United, this is his opportunity. He needs to put in that big bid. He needs to blow Sir Jim Ratcliffe out of the water. Although I think the amount of money they're asking for is ridiculous, I do genuinely believe this, right? If Sheikh Jassim was to come in and hold on to the club for 10, 20 years, I think it will be worth way more than what he pays for it, even if it's an overinflated price now. With the prospect of new TV deals, with the prospect of, obviously, building a new stadium and all the rest of it, yeah, there's so much potential to make some money, isn't there? Barry says Ineos will take control, okay. Chris Wayne says 1.3 billion for 25% is not 6 billion. That's the bit that doesn't make sense, right? All of the journalists are saying that the Glazers want 6.4 billion, yet they're willing to sell 25% for 1.3. I mean, if they're doing that, that means they only value the club at, what's that, 5.2 billion? 3, 6, 9, 12. Yeah, 5.2 billion. It doesn't really make any sense to me. It's a little bit confusing. Let's have a look. Somebody says, I remember that Monday when it was said to be done. What a moment that was. Yeah, I know. It's frustrating. It is what it is, but we've just got to try and, get through it. So let's have a look at the poll quickly. So 55% of you want Ralph Ragnick to be the new director of football. 37% want Paul Mitchell. 6% want Jean-Claude Blanc, the old PSG CEO, director of football. And 3% of you want to keep John Murtagh. I assume that must be rival fans because I don't remember anything that John Murtagh's done, which has been good. Viva Ganacho says you should make shorts to grow the channel. Yeah, I need to look into shorts. It's not really something. Yeah, somebody says, who's Paul Mitchin? It was a typo. I do apologise. I do this channel on my own. I'm trying to create a poll while speaking and, talking and reacting to the chat. It's quite a lot to juggle at the same time. So Paul Mitchin is actually Paul Mitchell. I do apologise for that. Right, I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined me on the show this evening. Please do make sure to smash a like. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're new, bottom right corner. This has been Daily Red Devil, and I'll catch you all a bit later.